When a business hits a growth wall, you face a specific choice: hire another person or build an automated system. Most people try comparing those two options by looking at them as different types of employees, but that's the wrong math. We are actually looking at two completely different economic dimensions. Let's look at a standard everyday task to see how this works. Say you need a standard 1,000-word business report. Take a look at this chart. On the left, the human approach takes 1 to 2 hours, costing 300 to 3,000 NT. On the right, an AI measures tokens, not hours. 2,000 to 3,000 tokens prices out between 10 cents and 6 NT. That means the artificial intelligence executes the exact same output for up to 10,000 times less. A gap that large signifies a structural shift in the market rather than just a standard business optimization. You are stepping out of the traditional labor market entirely. You are buying a completely different kind of asset, and that requires you to manage the risks and the budget in a completely different way. To understand why the math breaks down so extremely, we have to look at what you are actually buying when you pay a human salary. You are purchasing presence. You are paying for the guarantee that a smart, capable person is physically or virtually available for a set number of hours. And presence comes with baggage. You're paying for their health insurance, their desk space, the managers hired to oversee them, and the inevitable idle time between tasks. This graph shows how that plays out over a year. That thick line across the top is your human payroll. For a standard employee, that might be 1.5 million NT annually. It's a heavy cost, but it is perfectly flat and predictable month over month. The AI API model operates on an entirely different physical reality. Watch this second line appear at the bottom. This is the token model. You are paying strictly for exact computational outputs. If the machine isn't typing, you aren't paying a dime. But tapping into that microscopic per-task cost requires you to build the technical infrastructure first. You have to budget for engineering integration, human auditing workflows to check the machine's work, and ongoing system maintenance. When you add those technical overheads to the raw token fees, a high-volume AI system typically costs between 60,000 and 300,000 NT per year. This keeps your operational costs 3 to 10 times lower than a single human salary. Human labor gives you expensive but flawless budget predictability, while AI offers structural cost crushing at the expense of requiring technical infrastructure. That sounds like an easy win for automation, but there is a hidden risk in that API model that budget-conscious founders almost always overlook. Because you are paying per computation, your costs are inherently volatile. They depend entirely on the complexity of the query. Take a look at this flowchart to see how quickly things can spiral. This represents what happens when an AI agent receives an ambiguous prompt. Instead of stopping at an error, the system initiates a loop to fix itself. It calls an external tool, auto-retries, and generates massive logs to process the failure. Down here, a simple task budgeted at 1 NT silently spirals through these loops, resulting in a 100 NT charge. Compare that to human labor. If an employee spends an extra hour solving a confusing problem, your daily payroll doesn't suddenly multiply by 100. This is why you must deploy automated workflows with strict API limits and guardrails. Adopting AI workflows means trading high fixed costs for extreme cost volatility that requires constant monitoring. Managing the budget is only half the equation. The hard limit on automation comes down to strategic accountability. There are zones in every business where the rules are blurry, like long-term strategic direction, complex legal compliance, or strict financial liability. An AI can rapidly process the text related to these fields, but it completely lacks a semantic understanding of real-world consequences. Delegating these tasks to AI buys speed, but incurs catastrophic risk if the machine hallucinates or misinterprets an edge case. To manage that risk, you have to inject human oversight back into the loop. For high-stakes areas, that manual review essentially neutralizes the AI's speed advantage. It comes down to a simple rule. You can automate a process, but you cannot automate liability. A human must always serve as the final backstop for high-stakes decisions. So, how do you actually divide the work between your team and your software today? Map every task onto this single chart. The vertical axis measures empathy and accountability. The horizontal axis measures volume and repetition. Down in the bottom right, high volume, low accountability tasks, like basic text processing. This is purely AI territory. Aggressively deploy AI in this zone, but cap your API limits to prevent volatility spikes. Now look at the top left. Tasks with high accountability, like legal decisions and core strategy, that is strictly human territory. For the hybrid zone in the top right, you aren't replacing headcount. Instead, human roles shift from creating raw work to auditing the AI's output. To think about your future workforce, treat your human workers like highly flexible, general-purpose CPUs, and treat AI tokens like raw, scalable electricity. Electricity powers the entire system, but the CPU must direct it. If a task requires massive scale, speed, and standard operating procedures, AI mathematically wins. But if a task requires long-term planning, emotional intelligence, or carries legal liability, human labor remains structurally irreplaceable.